Hey folks, Nate Harold coming to you from the Geospatial Solutions program, here to give you a little bit of an update on our CCAP work. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I thought what I'd do is boil it down into probably three things that most of you all might be interested to know or should know if you're talking with some of our constituents about the work that we do as part of our CCAP work. Number one, we will be releasing our 2016 land cover update early in 2019. Those of you familiar with CCAP are probably familiar with the regional land cover work that we've been doing for decades. This is a 30-meter land cover product derived from Landsat imagery that we update every 5 years. We've been doing it for a long time, and we closely coordinate with a lot of other federal agencies that do similar work. This update is a little bit different from some of our past products in that typically we do the coastal mapping that CCAP does and provide that to the USGS to incorporate into the National Land Cover Database. This time around, we're waiting for the USGS to give us their data so that we can put the wetland or coastal spin on that data set. Also, it's probably pretty important to note that this is going to be a re-release of all existing CCAP dates, and that's because there's some nice improvements that'll be incorporated into those new data sets. Also, it's probably important to know that this is probably going to be what our last CCAP update at the 30-meter level. And that's because CCAP is moving to a higher resolution of mapping, or at least we're starting to take the steps to move to that higher resolution for all the coastal areas that we map. Now, high-resolution CCAPs have been around for a number of years, but it's not something that we've produced over large areas, primarily because it's been expensive to produce. If you're working out in the Pacific or down in the Caribbean, these are probably the data sets that you know CCAP for, because those were the first of the areas where we've made this transition. Now we're looking to make that transition in the CONUS and really step up the game that CCAP has had in the lower 48 over the years. And a lot of this is due to constituent demand and needs that we've heard expressed for that level of data, but it's also due to costs coming down due to improved technology and just more data being made available. Things like distributed processing, cloud-based computing, artificial intelligence have really started to make a dent in terms of the cost and the efficiency at which some of these data sets can be developed. Now, doesn't mean it's still anywhere near the cost that it was for us to produce our 30-meter data, but OCM made a decision about 2 years ago to really start moving in this direction, and we made a down payment on that move, which I'll be talking a little bit more about. It's a move that'll take several years and be done over in several phases. And you can see why folks would want this kind of data when I put up one of these example 1-meter data sets here next to some of our 30-meter data. You can see at the scale that we're looking at here down kind of in the city realm, the 30-meter data really just kind of breaks down. This is not the scale that data was developed for or intended to be used at, whereas the 1-meter products that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen just provide a lot more detail within that area, and you can see how it would be a lot more useful for making much more local scale kinds of decisions. And if I zoom in another area here in South Carolina, you can just see kind of the level of detail. Not only are we talking about developed areas and general developed features, but we're really keying in on specific buildings and roads and natural structures. So here's a slide that just kind of highlights some of the areas where we're doing some of this work now. These are kind of the first phase of the products that we're developing at this higher resolution. So you can see both a number of the different geographies in which we're working, a number of the different private companies with which we're working, and our real goal is that we will roll these products out in more and more geographies over the coming year, and eventually be to the point where in our 2020 update cycle, we're updating many of these products at that 1-meter resolution and moving forward with change at that scale. Just a key note, Massachusetts will be the first geography where we release these data sets. That'll be something that'll probably come out right after the holidays. Merry Christmas. It's also the first area where a state has bought into partnering up with us to cost share the development of these products. As I said, they are more expensive than the 30-meter data, and for us to really achieve our goal, we're going to have to be doing more and more of that type of cost sharing. So the third item that I wanted to update folks on is that we are going to be releasing a beta land cover. This is going to be a 10-meter land cover that we're developing based on the first steps that we take in producing those 1-meter products. So these are automated 1-meter data sets that we're taking and resampling up to a 10-meter. Now, we're not serving them out at 1 meter because they're not ready for prime time. These are products that need to be refined, edited, and finalized before they're released at that resolution, but they are good enough to be resampled up into a reduced resolution and put out as this kind of beta level product. And essentially what we're envisioning is that the areas where we've started that high-res work that you can see highlighted here in green are the areas where we'll start to release those products. The lighter shades of green will be reduced sooner. The darker shades of green will be released as those products are completed over the coming year. It won't have exactly all the same categories that CCAP typically maps. There'll be a few listed here that you'll see that are going to be missing, but it'll essentially cover a core set of simplified upland categories plus many of the same wetlands that CCAP tends to map. And we really see this as kind of a gateway land cover product that'll get folks both interested in what high resolution can do for them and maybe want to partner up with us on the development of those full 1-meter data sets, but I think it'll also provide a product that'll be an improvement over the existing 30-meter data that we've produced in the past. And then in addition, we'll also put out a 30-meter impervious and a 30-meter canopy product that essentially showcase impervious surfaces and canopy cover on a 0 to 100% basis for 30-meter cells. And just to give you kind of an idea of what those data sets look like, here's one of our standard 30-meter CCAP products, kind of simplified down into a scheme that matches those 10-meter beta products. You can see that on the left. You can see the 10-meter product on the right. And you can just see that both the products are very, very complementary and similar in many regards, which is nice for consistency, but also that those 10-meter products have a level of detail that just isn't available in our standard 30-meter data sets. And then if I were to put up all three of our upcoming products next to one another, you can see the 30-meter products like those that we've historically produced on the far left, one of these example 10-meter beta products in the middle, and one of the 1-meter CCAP products on the far right-hand side of the screen. And you can just see kind of the differences in those resolutions. And as you move towards that higher detailed product, how you can see much more spatial detail in those products and obviously think about how those would be used at a more local scale to engage at more site-specific kinds of applications. Also, thinking about these products, I think as we roll more and more of them out, these are going to be real game changers for us in terms of how some of our existing tools and applications that are built around CCAP really might function. Now, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of time, so I want to just thank everyone for listening for a few minutes, and please encourage you to reach out to me or others on the CCAP team if you'd like to discuss some of these products further. And if you really have an interest, I'd offer up that we are having a GeoTools sim on this topic, and we'll likely be doing a dry run of that sim in January, and so could certainly use some input from staff who would be interested in kind of participating in that and giving us both some feedback and learning a little bit more about what it is we're doing. Thank you.